The result is the same. What goes there? Equal sign. You see what I'm saying? You do it as you read it. As when the number of men is increased by 10. X plus 10, right? The number of men, well, what are the men? You have men written down. What are the men called? X. So number of men is X. Is increased by 10. How do you increase something by 10?
1.
How do you increase something? How do you increase something by 10? If you have 5 and you increase that 5 by 10, what? Add it. Increase means add, right?
Okay.
So it says, we said the men are X, right? And the women are 3X. You write it as you read it. When you finish reading it, you should have your equation. You said the men are X, women are 3X. Once we know that from the beginning, now every time they say men, we're going to write an X. Every time it says women, we're going to write a 3X. Because we've changed those words into symbols and numbers. So it says when the number, what does it say?
Of women is decreased by 2.
So how do you decrease women by 2? The women are what? 3X, right? How do I decrease them by 2?
Minus 2.
Minus 2, right? It says it's the same as, that means it's equal to, when the men, who are X, are increased by 10, right? It's just a code. The words change to numbers and symbols. Not difficult, not surprising, exactly what it says. We wrote it exactly as it said. Only thing we had to come up with is what we were going to call the men and the women. And they defined it by saying it's not the same, because if it was the same number of men and women, they'd both be X. You'd have an X and another X. Whatever the answer, just divide by 2. You see what I mean? Just like you guys were doing, dividing that 60 by 3 to get 20. But it didn't say they were all the same. They're all different. It's not the same number of men and women. For every man, there's 3 women. So we have to express them differently. But we know that when you decrease the women by 2, you're going to get the same answer as when you increase the men by 10. Because there's that many more women. So I need to know, because sometimes they don't even ask you how many men or women. They ask you which equation says what shows what I just said. And you'd have to know that this was it. They may have 1 and have 3x plus 10 and x minus 2. You know what I'm saying? They would they would increase and decrease the wrong ones to see if you were following what it said, if you are writing it the way the question is set up. Now, again, we have x's on both sides. So we need to get them together. We need to get the x's on one side of it, the numbers on one side of it. So we're going to move the 3x, or we're going to move the x?
The X.
The x, because it's smaller. The x is just 1x, okay? So I always, now this is not anything that's in the book, I always just draw arrows so I know what's moving where. Do it however you need to do it. But I know the x has got to come over here, and I'm going to take the 2 over there, okay? Okay, follow? No question about that so far, right? Okay. So the 3x stays here, because it's already here. We're not moving it. Put it the way it is. But I'm going to move the x over here. Now it's positive over here. So I got to take it away over here. Okay? Equal sign still there. The 10 is still there. The 2 is negative over here. It's going to be positive over here. I mean, what's difficult about it? I mean, you're screaming like that's hard to remember. Do the opposite. I wonder why do you think that's hard to do?
Okay, I get it.
What you're actually doing, and it may make more sense to you, this is how it makes sense to me. Now, the way the book will show you is that you still got to get the x's and the x's and the numbers with the numbers. They'll say to get rid of this 2, add 2 to both sides. So when I add a negative 2 and a 2,
Now
that's
the way
0.
I know how to do it.
So you can do it that way. We're doing it the same way. We're just bypassing this step. Don't you still end up adding 2 over here?
Yeah,
Same thing I just did when I moved it.
you're right.
This is the way my algebra teacher taught us in high school, and it just made more sense to me. Because it's doing the same thing, but it's just short.
Short time.
But if it doesn't make sense to you, then do it this way. So now you got the 3x left over here, and you have the x here, but now it's plus 12. Then it said you gotta take x from this side. So I have to take x from this side. So I'm gonna end up with 2x. These are gonna cancel out, equals 12. Which is the same thing we did here by saying if we had this, x plus 10. I said move the x over here, and that takes it away here. Move the 2 over there, and that adds it there. You're ending up with the same thing. So whichever way makes sense to you, you can do it. You're still going to have 2x equals 12. Okay? All we did was just say we're moving it rather than saying we're doing the opposite, but we're really doing the opposite anyway. So if it makes more sense to you to go through that, then go on and do that. We don't want to change nothing to make you, to make it confusing. If you understand that way.
I was like,
do it
what's
that
going
way.
on for a second? I was like, I'm used to this, not that.
I know, but it's the same thing. It's the same thing. This way is just a shortcut. We actually are adding 2 to each side. But instead of adding it to both sides, I just really add it to one side because I know when you add it to this side, it's going to cancel out. So that's just, so our teacher just didn't even teach us to do that step. She just said, just pretend you're moving it and change the sign. Okay? But whatever works. But now when you get here, this way would say, now you're going to divide each side by 2. Because you were multiplying, you're going to do the opposite. And you have x equals 6. Okay? Because this says 2 times some number equals 12. I want to know what that number is. It's got to be 6. And that's what I would do here. I would just say this is 2 times some number gives me 12. What is that number? I know that number is 6. Which I had to divide 2 into 12 to come up with that 6, but I could do that in my head. I didn't have to do it as a separate, thing, but that's what you're doing. So it's all right if you do that. Okay, now that's x. So that's what? Men. And the question asks you what? It asks you for both? So how many women are there then?
18.
18. Because there's 3 times x women. So now I know there are 18 women, 6 men in that class. You see how you can figure that out?
What if we wanted to do that right now since there's only 2 boys in here?
And how many women? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there are
What's that?
5 times as many women as there are men in the class. So the men are x, the women would be 5x. Okay? And we say there are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13. That can't be. Wait a minute, count me. 2, that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So maybe I didn't count me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, there are 11. Do I count me?
Did you count this 5?
10, I did. Or 10, there are 12 people without me, yeah. So we say that equals 12. Okay?
Get rid of the x's.
So x plus 6x, x plus 5x gives you what?
Wouldn't that be 6?
6x.
No, there are 5 times as many women as men, right? If there are 2 men and there are 10 women, there are 5 times as many women as there are men, right?
So you get rid of both of them x's.
So you can't get rid of them, you add them together. They're on the same side now. No, what I just said was that the total are 12. There are 12 people in here. If you want to know how many men and how many women, and if I tell you that there are 5 times as many women as there are men, then men are x. Excuse me.
God bless you.
Men were x and women were 5x. Okay? So I said x plus 5x gives me 12. X plus 5x is what?
6x.
6x equals 12. 6 times some number equals 12. What is that number? 2. There are 2 men. and there are 5 times as many women, there's 2 times 5 or 10 women. You are there, because we're talking about this class.
I was just
Wake
playing.
up,
I was
Francis.
just playing. I was just playing.
Sarah said, wake up.
Yeah, if we didn't know how many people, of course, we had to count to find out, but if we didn't know how many people, we could have figured. If I just told somebody there are 5 times as many women as there are men in my class last night, there were 12 people total. How many men and how many women, you could have figured out that there were 2 men and 10 women from that. Okay, let's look at the next one. It says, Juan and his boss Felipe are house painters. These are the kind you really want to know how to do, because this is when you're going to be the front man, you're the boss. You're going to say, I'm going to charge you $3,600 for this house. You're going to pick up Felipe to help you. You're not giving Felipe $1,800.
That's
You're not giving him half of it because you got the job. So you're going to figure out what's fair. How are you going to pay Felipe? Well, it says that, you could do that, but it says here that for every dollar Juan gets, Felipe gets $3. So he gets 3 times as much. So we know that Juan, we know together that Juan plus Felipe are going to earn $3,600, right? But Juan's going to make how much?
$1 and the other one's gonna make $3.